everyone, and welcome to a very special video. This is my video number 300 here on the channel. And I thought that I would get back to basics, back to where it all started. And that was with Twilight Garden by Maria Trolle. This is also my project book for this year. I really want to finish it during 2025. And I have chosen this double page spread. You know I love my double page spreads here in these coloring books. And I will be using Black Widow pencils. Recently I have had some votes here on my channel in the community post about which coloring pencil brands people want me to use other than Polychromas and Prismacolors. And Black Widow pencils are one of the pencils that a lot of people voted for. They want to see more. So, hence, Black Widow pencils for this double page spread. Hi, my name is Katja. I'm CatColouring. A very warm welcome to my channel for this very special video, video number 300. Grab your copy of Twilight Garden, grab your Black Widow pencils, and let's get started with coloring this one. This video is a coloring tutorial. Normally I only do tutorials for my members, but because this is a very special occasion, I decided to make a tutorial for all of you about how to cope with these challenging coloring pages. Because this is a very, very confusing coloring page. The background is black, so we don't have to worry about that, but we have a lot of things going on here. Immediately our eye is caught by this bird's nest and bird and the eggs here and here. Then we have a bird here but without a nest. And then we have lots and lots of different flowers and leaves twirling into each other all over the page. So how do we do this? Well, I like to begin with one thing, and that is choosing one specific flower and then coloring every single one of the flowers. And since we have some lovely bellflowers here, let's begin with coloring all of the bellflowers here on this page before we begin moving on to the next object we want to color. So if you saw my recent tips and tricks for beginner colorist about choosing color episode, then you know how I choose my colors. I have my Black Widow color family chart here for all of the 180 pencils because I have them all. And bellflowers are usually a very light purple, or otherwise they are blue. And well, the first thing I have to choose is, do I want to use a lot of bright colors, or do I want to use, you know, some more pale colors, perhaps some more muted tones? Well, a lot of the Black Widows are very, very bright colored coloring pencils, so of course I want to go with the bright colors because that's just the kind of girl I am. So this will be the first time I have used Black Widow pencils in this book on this paper, so I don't know how they will behave, but let's find out. We can see here, and of course I will not, you know, make a video with 5 or 6 hours and then color everything in real time, because I seriously doubt that you all have time to watch such a long video. So I will do as I normally do, color this selection of the bellflowers, and then you just apply the same principle to the bellflowers for the rest of the page. And you can see here that an illustrator usually marks out the shadow areas by making some lines. And this is what we use the darkest color for, the forget-me-not color. And in here also a little bit of shadow. I know that these are going to be, I think they're called stamens, they're going to be white. And I will probably use a white gel pen for these, so I will probably do this at the end. I like to have my coloring pencils down before I begin using my gel pens. And then we want some highlights here. So I will take the denim and color a little here. And then I will place a natural little highlight here. You know, I'm not the person to have huge areas with a lot of highlights, because, well, if you look at things in real life, there aren't as many highlights on flowers as you would believe from watching people's colorings. But a little highlight here and there is absolutely fine. You can see here. And then here inside we don't really have highlights, so we will just add the light blue color here. And as I say, then it's just a matter of layering and blending the colors together. Here there are, well, I'm not quite sure that it's dark enough, because there's a bit more shadow there, and you can see here in the color family chart there's not enough difference between forget-me-not and ocean here, so I will probably have to, if I want it to be darker, pull a darker color in, and then it wouldn't have to be bright, it would be a dark shadow color. So it could be the zephyr blue, or it could also, because I don't want it to be too bright, it could be the blue moon, or perhaps the navy blue. I think the zephyr blue will work quite fine here. Let's see if I can find it. I think it's this one. Yeah, zephyr blue. Oh, just have to sharpen that one also. You can see it adds just a little bit more dark color in here. And this double page spread also exists as a Chris Cheng tutorial. I know, because I think I saw it once, but so you can color, I think she colored the eggs blue, like some of these blue colors here, but she used Prismacolors because she always uses Prismacolors. And here we have a more closed bluebell, or we can't see the inside of it. So this means that we again take the forget-me-not first and then the denim blue. But the Black Widow pencils are really easy to lay down on this paper. I am positively surprised by this. You could add the zephyr blue just a little, as a little darker color way up here. And of course the forget-me-not up here. And you can already see with the highlights that I'm placing on these flowers that I imagine the light coming in sort of a little diagonal from above. This means that I will have some highlight here also, but not on this side of this little bluebell. And I will erase that one. And a little bit of zephyr blue here. So you can see they are not entirely colored, but we can take this one and add another layer of the forget-me-not here. And the zephyr blue. Perhaps a tiny bit up here. And then the denim blue. Wow, they are really, really easy to use, these Black Widows on this paper. A wonderful, wonderful surprise. So I just finished these two off camera, because we do have a lot of flowers here. And as I said, I seriously doubt that you have endless of hours to watch an entire video. But please, if I'm wrong, write it down in the comments if you want longer videos where I color just in full time. But for now, we have to choose some green colors for these leaves. And we do have so many different types of flowers and leaves. So we will have to, you know, luckily there are so many green colors here, because we have to choose so they are not completely the same all over the place. There have to be, there really have to be different sorts of green colors, or else it will be perhaps a little bit boring to look at this picture here. And when I am in doubt, I am Googling bluebells and looking at some pictures. And I am right, they have some very bright colors, and the green leaves and stuff with bluebells also very bright in the color, but not too dark. So I am thinking somewhere along the lines of this, either cicada and sapphire, or grub green and green glow. Perhaps green glow is actually too dark. I think that green glow is way too dark for these leaves. They are very small leaves. I think that we should go with cicada and sapphire. This means that I will just have to find them here in my pencil case. Ah, here it was. And here. They were right before my nose and I couldn't find them. That is what comes of having way too many pencils. Cicada, the lightest one. I think we will only use the cicada, or most of it here. Oh yes, this is a very, very nice color. Goes well with the blue colors here. So the stem here, also cicada. I think that sapphire is perhaps too... I think we take the toxic green to create a little bit of shadow, because it's darker. Just create a little bit here. And then just a little bit of, the toxic green here, not sapphire, but toxic green. And also here. Now, I have been wondering for quite a while what video to do when it was video number 300. And then I thought, well, I really wanted to go back to what I began with when I started the channel. And if you're wondering what did she do when she started her channel, then go back and check out my playlists, because my playlists here on YouTube, some of my first videos are there. If you look under the playlist, practice tutorials, and it's a well practiced. When I sort of invented the term practice tutorial, I meant it wasn't a beginner tutorial, because I didn't, went down to basics with everything. If you were a beginner colorist, I just meant that if you had been coloring for a while and you wanted a tutorial and it wasn't just a color along, then I made these videos for people as I said, who were a bit more used to coloring and not complete beginners. And I do have some very nice videos in here, and both from, I have quite a few Hannah Carlson tutorials. I can see that I have something from, I think it was Tales from the Forest Kingdom, my practice tutorial in 3 parts with Egyptian Queen. I have The Ruins of Atlantis from Tales from Atlantis. I have Coloring Only with Green Colors. That was from Seasons. I have a witch portrait from Tales from the Witch's Cottage. And then I have some flower tutorials, and those are from Twilight Garden here, a rowanberry wreath also from Twilight Garden, and the deer in flower field, also Twilight Garden, and a 4-part tutorial from Tales from the Witch's Cottage with the last double page spread with the witch and the cat sitting on each a crescent moon. And then I have a couple of Johanna Basford tutorials in there. So, well, practice tutorials shouldn't keep you from watching those videos, because they are some real tutorials. I just didn't know how to name them when I made them, because I thought that they were certainly not beginner tutorials. So that playlist here on my channel is some of my very first videos. And then I also have my colored pencils comparisons, and a lot more new videos will come in that playlist, because I am going to be doing a lot more comparisons between different colored pencil brands in the coming weeks and months. And those were also some of the first videos I made. That was the bellflowers. So, just to recap, Toxic Green, Cicada for the stems and leaves, and a Zephyr Blue for the dark shadows, Forget-Me-Not and Denim for the bluebells, and then a white gel pen in the end for these little stamens in here. And then just color all of the rest of the bellflowers the same way, using the same colors. Now that the bluebells have all been colored, it's time to focus on another of these flowers. And we do have quite a lot of these columbine flowers here. Very beautiful. And I always like to use some sort of purple-violet colors. So for this columbine here, I have chosen Tulip as the lightest color, Amethyst as a sort of middle color, and then the grape as a dark color, and then as a even darker color, the space color, which is a really, really dark violet color. I will begin here with amethyst, and I will just make it a light layer. Then I will use the tulip, and again make a light layer here. Oh, I think that we will need the amethyst here and back here. Then I will take the grape and just put it here as a darker color. And I will also begin using grape here, where I used the amethyst as a dark shadow color. And then I will add more amethyst here. And I will switch to grape again, just to make sure that we do have a darker color here. Remember to sharpen your Black Widow pencils before you begin, They do need to be quite sharp for this. So a lot of grape here, and then we just, that was a wrong color, take the amethyst on top. And then we continue with the amethyst, and we used the amethyst to make a sort of a bit darker shadow color here on these parts of the petal here, the lighter petals. And we take the tulip and add a bit more color here. And you can see as soon as I use the tulip, then the amethyst here almost disappeared. So you will have to layer again with another layer of amethyst. And then use the tulip to sort of blend it in. And those are the columbines you can see, you know, folded a little bit together. But what if they are completely blooming? Then we will again here use amethyst for the petals. And tulip. And of course some more amethyst, because we just begin to layer a bit. And again the tulip. And that was the first leaves. Then we bring in two more colors. We bring in the blue tongue and the purple haze. And the purple haze is the darkest of these colors, so we just begin by putting down some purple haze here. And then use the blue tongue in a light layer. And I might do this again lightly. Another little layer of purple haze. Another little layer, and again light pressure of the blue tongue. And then I will use the white, which I will just find. So we will use the white, and the white is Casper. And here we will just blend the white on top. And so we will use the white as a blender pencil here for these petals. So we do get some color, but we sort of pale it out a bit, make it more pale with the white here. And then we take another pencil, the light yellow, and color the middle of the columbine here. And now you may wonder, oh, but what about that space color? The space, the very, very darkest of the violet colors, I would like to use as a shadow color here. So make sure you sharpen the tip very much, and then just use it to create a little bit of shadow between each of the petals. And also here. And a little bit here around the innermost part of this flower. And that was the space color. For the stem and the leaves, we will be using 2 different colors. We will be using the grass blade, which is a darker green color. You can see him here. Grass blade, and the zombie. So zombie and grass blade. And we will use the zombie for the stem, or rather the lighter parts of the stem. And here where you can see it, but we have some lines, it's of course a shadow, and then we will put the grass blade there. So these leaves belong to the columbines, so we will have to color those, and I will begin with the grass blade. And then we will use the zombie. Just to color a little bit on top. And again, the darkest color here. And then the lightest color on top. And again here. And again with the zombie. It's a great name, zombie, because it's one of those Black Widow names. I really like the Black Widow pencils, and I'm not sure if I like the colors more or the names most, because these are just brilliant names. Grass blade and zombie and cool green and lime fruit. I just think that these names are absolutely brilliant. And you can see we keep continuing using more bright colors. But now it's just a matter of identifying each and every one of these columbines and the leaves, and just color them using the same colors. The light yellow for the middle, and these open columbines inside with purple haze and blue tongue, and the white on top together with the light yellow, and the outer leaves here with amethyst and tulip, and then of course the more closed, or you can see the columbines from the side here, then you use amethyst and tulip and combine it with grape. And you use space to create a little bit of shadows on these petals. And for the stem and leaves, you use grass blade and zombie. As you can see now that we have colored 2 of the different sorts of flowers on this double page spread, it's already beginning to be a little more coherent and not that messy. So we have colored the bluebells and we have colored the columbines. So now it's time for the cranesbills here. And I have chosen 3 different sorts of reddish pinkish colors. I have chosen Evil Red, and I have chosen Maiden Pink, and I have chosen Watermelon. And for the leaves, I have chosen Toxic Green yet again, and Venom, which is an even darker green. So let's begin here with the Maiden Pink. So here we have these cranesbills. Oh, I don't know. I think it's perhaps better to take it in a place where we can see it all. So let's take the flowers down here. Okay, so Maiden Pink. So we will add a little Maiden Pink here, not at the very edge of the petals, but you have to leave room for a little of the white of the paper. So that was the Maiden Pink. Then we need a darker color, which is the Watermelon. So we take the Watermelon and we take it up towards the Maiden Pink, but we leave a little tiny bit of room for some white here in the middle also. And now it's just a matter of we take another layer of the Maiden Pink out here. And then the Watermelon. And then we take Evil Red. And the Evil Red is really going to be extremely sharp. You can see here, very, very sharp. Because we are going to use Evil Red to cover these lines and draw them out into the petals. Because a lot of these cranesbills, they have a sort of a ground color, if you can say that, on the entire petal, in different shades of the color, and then they have a darker color, which sort of gives lines and sort of veins, a vein pattern in these leaves, and it's usually quite dark. And if we want to, we can take the Maiden Pink a little bit further, but we still need an edge here of white. And then we will use a white gel pen. I have here a Uniball Signo broad. Just have to get it flowing. So the stamens in here are sort of more whitish or a very light gray color. And then also, just have to find the right one. This pink glitter gel pen Sparkle Pop. We have to have a pink sort of in the middle of these flowers. So this is a cranespill or a geranium, which is called Elk. So I'm not just inventing this. I have actually found a reference photo online with a picture of this particular geranium elk. So cranespills, geraniums, well, sort of the same thing in my eyes. Toxic Green and Venom, and Venom is the darkest color, so of course we will add the venom, where we have some shadow areas of these stamens down here. And then we will use the toxic green for the rest. So you can see there is a color difference here. And these leaves, they are so small, we just color them with the toxic green. I believe this is also small leaves down here. And also here, because these are of course also the same flower. So first the darkest venom and then the toxic green. And notice yet again that we are using some very, very bright colors on this coloring page with all of these different flowers. And then we have these sort of leaves, and here I will just use the venom. To color most of them dark, and then I color with the toxic green on top to add a lighter, darker color of the green here. And then we have these small ones, and they are usually very dark, so I will just add the watermelon, and I will press a little bit harder here. And then I will of course use the evil red to add some shadows down here. Also with these flowers we see from sort of behind. Again, the watermelon. And remember to leave a little room and space up here for the highlight. And here I will not be using the maiden pink, because this is the back of the petals and they are usually a bit darker than when you see the opened flower. And then of course evil red. And here we don't see the pattern, so we just use the evil red to lay down some shadow. And then you can take an even darker color like the Black Widow or the Midnight and add some more shadow down here. I will probably use a black one and not a very dark gray one to add some more shadow also here. So let's get that black one going. We have here, I will take the Midnight and just add a little bit of some more shadow here. And well, that's the crane spills or geraniums. Now that we have colored these geraniums or crane spills, different names, same flower, you can see we get an even more coherent coloring page. Now it's time to color these fern leaves. And I have found 3 different colors. There are a lot of different sort of fern leaves. Some are very light and bright, some are dark in the colors, some have more reddish tones. So I have decided to use rattlesnake. This is from the Cobra set, and apple from the Monarch set, and olive green from the Scorpion set. So we have some more olive like green tones here, and also a sort of reddish brown, a light reddish brown. And these fern leaves where you have this reddish brown on parts of the leaves look something like this. So we use the rattlesnake to add a little bit of this reddish brown color here on the leaves, or the tip of the leaf here. Then we use the olive green. This is the darkest color. So let's add some olive green here in the middle. And then we use apple. And here I color both where I haven't colored and also on top of the rattlesnake. And then it's just a matter of layering these fern leaves with, as I said before, rattlesnake for a reddish brown color, olive green in the middle for a darker color, and then apple green on top. Time for the hydrangeas, and here I will be using two different kinds of red colors for the flowers, deep red and bloodshot. Well, this is kind of not correct, because this is actually the darkest color, bloodshot, and deep red is the lightest of the colors. You can't see it from the color of the barrel, but never mind that. So bloodshot it is, and I'm just using bloodshot to give a little shadow color down here on these tiny flowers. And here where we can see the innermost part of the petal, we will also use the bloodshot. And I do press a bit hard because this is so tiny. There's hardly any room for layering. And then we take the deep red. So some very, very nice red flowers here with these hydrangeas. And also here. A lot of color down, because these are going to be very, very colorful. So I am pressing quite hard. No need to layer on these small leaves. And then I take this cool green from the Monarch set, and this is very lightly. I just give this part of the flower a very light layer of the cool green. I hope you can see it. And then I take the opal green, which is a very dark green color, and the wizard, which is also a dark color. So I take the opal green and I color here where we have some shadows on the stems. And then I color the rest of it with the wizard. So some very, very dark green colors. Also no layering here. We are just going to get some color down. And then I take the opal green again and I color the tip of this leaf. So the tip here and then the middle. The middle with opal green and the tips here. Then I take the wizard and then I have a lighter pressure. You can see here a lighter pressure and just give some color to the rest of the leaf. And then I take the washed green, also from the monarch set, and then I color all over both the opal green and the monarch here. Opal green and wizard green on this leaf. And I can see I just forgot a flower. So again, the bloodshot. And the deep green, or not deep green, the deep red. And then I take the midnight, the black one. Just give it a little bit of shadow here between the petals. And all around this one. And then we just need one more thing, which is a red Posca pen. So we shake it and then we add the dots here in the middle, and they are also going to be red. So you can still see the green background, but we have the red Posca here to show us. So I repeat again, bloodshot and deep red for the flowers, opal green and wizard, and washed green for the leaves and stems, the cool green for the middle of the flower, and the midnight for some shadows, and then a red Posca. And then we're almost finished with this drawing. Now for the more tricky part, and the tricky part is this bird's nest and the eggs, and also the bird. And I would like this bird to be a blackbird, because it's one of my favorite birds in the garden. So I want it to be all black. But let's see what we can do with this bird later. First and foremost, we have to color this nest and the eggs. So for the nest, I have chosen some colors. I have chosen, if we go from the light to the dark colors, I have chosen pastel lemon. That's from the scorpion set. And then I have chosen, and excuse the name, stink bug from the black widow, the spider set. Then I have chosen rusty from the monarch set. And chalk tone from the dark skin set, I think, and then the dungeon from the dragon set, and also the dark chocolate from the scorpion set. So it's almost a color from each set here. So I will begin with some of the light colors. So this stink bug here, I think we will begin with the stink bug. And you can see here where the shadow areas are, this is where we have all of these lines. This means that the lightest of these, well, branches and stuff here, they are going to be colored a bit with this stink bug. And notice I am only giving it a light layer here and there. Because this is a matter of blending and layering the colors. And we can't see it, but we do have some shadow here from the flowers and the bird. so I won't lay any light colors there. Then I will take the rusty and I will begin with the rusty and layering a bit here and there. And you can see this is a not a tedious kind of work, but it is work that does take some time. Luckily, there are only 2 birds' nests on this double page spread. Now it's also time to remember that we do have some dark areas here and there. And I will take the chalk tone now and add some color. Here where we can see it's going to be dark. And I think I want a lot of the dark color to be here. Around the bird. And this flower and here with this leaf. So we are just beginning to add a little bit of shadow here. And we also have the dungeon. Which is a very dark, sort of olive green brownish color. So I will enhance the shadows by adding this color. Here where we have the shadow areas. And then I will lay the color down. Where we have the dark areas. I think we will probably also need a black one for the darkest of the shadows, but let's wait until later with the black one. And then we will take the rusty again and add a bit more color here. And give it another layer of the stink bug where we want it to be a bit more light. And in the areas where I want it to be most light, I will use the pastel lemon to burnish. So I am already burnishing some of the light spots here. And then I will use my, not the rusty, the dark chocolate to add a bit of a dark brown color. And also here down in the bottom here. I think we need a middle brown color, so I will take the, oh yes, the castle from the dragon set. And I would like to add a bit more of a dark color, especially around the edges out here and on top of the rusty color. So this means that I will take the pastel lemon again on top of where I had laid down the stink bug, just to brighten up those places. And as I said, the castle here, that was not it, the castle here on top of the areas with the rusty to darken up the color. And now it's time to make it really, really dark. So I am just looking through my colors and I find the chalk tone yet again. To give it a bit more of that shadow color. And then I think we will use the midnight to just add a bit more depth and dimension in here. And then we will take the, just have to find it, because now I have so many pencils, I can't find them, not the dark chocolate. I think the dungeon. And then add a bit of a shadow between these different little branches. And I think we need a little bit more of a shadow here underneath the bird. And all of these flowers and leaves here. As I said before, I want this bird or these birds to be blackbirds because they are my very favorite garden bird, or the bird in the garden, singing early in the morning and waking me all summer long. And the eggs of the blackbird, they are a sort of pale greenish bluish color, and then they have brown spots. So I will be using the sky from the Monarch set because the sky is a very nice pale turquoise color. I will enhance a little bit with the Everglade from the Black Widow Spider set, and then I will use the Blue Heaven, which is a blue color, light blue color, but it has some more green in it than just blue, and it's from the Scorpion set. And then I will just find the castle here that I used before. I will use the castle for some brown dots or spots here on these eggs. You can see that we do have some tiny dots here, but I think they are more, well, dots to signal we have some shadows here. So I will, because once I use the other colors, I will just use this one to draw in some brown spots. Of course, you can just, if you don't want the brown spots, then you can just don't do it. So because I am really bad sometimes at leaving enough room for the highlights, I will begin with the sky color because I want the innermost circle of this egg to be this very, very light color. And you can see I don't want any sharp edges, so I haven't sharpened my my pencil here. Then I will use the Everglade to add a little bit more color. And you can see this has a bit more green in it than the sky. This is sort of a, the color between or next to the Everglade is emerald. So it's the step just before emerald, and it's not in the same color family as the sky because there we find the turquoise colors. And then we take this, what was it, Blue Heaven, which is a light blue color but with some more green in it than, for example, the denim that I use for the flowers. That is an entirely light blue color. This is with a touch of green in it. So I think you can say that this is more of a light blue green color than the other one. And you can see it's also a bit of a darker color. So of course we laid here in the edges, on the edges of these eggs. And then it's just a matter of layering the colors. And here I will use the Everglade again and color both on top of the Blue Heaven and on top of where I laid the Everglade. Yeah, I think that a lot of you will probably ditch these brown spots because you will probably feel just like I do that they don't fit very well. Well, I haven't decided that there are going to be brown spots on the eggs of the Blackbird, so and then I will enhance the color of these brown spots because now I have them and I don't want them to go away. I might even add a few more here. So as I said, ditch the brown spots if you don't want them. I want them because this is really Blackbird's eggs. And a bit more of the Everglade. A little bit more of the Blue Heaven. And now I will sharpen my sky just a bit because I want a bit more color down here from the sky. It's surprising how many birds' eggs are this sort of bluish, greenish color, because the eggs of what's it called? The bird with the red chest. They are also this color. So I looked up birds' eggs, and a lot of them had this bluish, greenish, or turquoise-like colors, and only a few of them were more, egg-like with light colors. If we take this one, you can see milk, oyster, suede. Some of these very light beige-like colors. Not many of the wild birds' eggs are this color. So if you want to lighten the color further, then you can use the white on top. If you think, oh, these were perhaps a little bit too bright because the color is not as strong as other birds' eggs colors. It's more of a pale color. You can use the white on top to remove a bit of the color and make it a bit paler if you want to. But again, that's up to you. If you don't want the spots, ditch them and just use the sky, the Everglade, and the Blue Heaven for these eggs. And now we only have the bird left. Time for the Blackbird, and I will be using Nugget, which is a sort of a dark yellow color from the Cobra set. And this is very easy. I will just be using this for the beak. And then I will have a line of this just around the eye, because eyes of blackbirds, they are yellow and then we have the black inside. I will probably color all of this black with a gel pen and then add a white dot in the middle with some Posca pen. But this is what I will be using the yellow for. Then, of course, I'm just sifting through my my pencil case of black widows here, and here we have the coal for the little claws down here. A very dark gray color. So a blackbird is black. So I can just color it entirely black, but if you have the light on it, then there could be some a little bit of color difference. So I have here the black widow, which is black, and then here somewhere in all of my coloring pencils, and now my table is full of coloring pencils, so I probably can't find it. Here it was, Midnight, the other black one. Now if we look at the color family chart, we can see the black widow, which is one of the blacks, is in the same color family as graythorn, dim gray, and charcoal, which is sort of warm gray colors. And here we have the cool or cold gray colors: gunmetal, cobblestone, medium gray, flat black, coal, and then midnight. So we can say that there is a difference between the midnight black and the Black Widow black. So the Black Widow black is more of a warm black, and the Midnight black is more of a cold black. So I think it's really difficult to see the difference between these colors, but I will give it a go. I will use the Black Widow to use it here under the eye. And then we have all of these patterns here, and I think I will probably just ignore it. And also here on top of the head. So we have the Black Widow on the head and down towards the beak and just below the eye here. And then I will just use it here on the wing. Well, it is a cute little choppy bird here, and I will also use it just below the wing and also here on the chest, but we can't see all of the chest because of this bellflower. So this was one of the blacks, and then I will use the Midnight. And you can actually see the difference now. It's sort of a darker black, if we can say it. And I will just use it here, and you can see that I am pressing a bit hard because I might, when I give the Black Widow black another layer, not press that hard, so we can get a little color difference here. So I will also just lay it here beneath the wing. So back to the Black Widow. And to give it a second layer, and I am not pressing too hard, I'm just giving it the second layer. Sometimes they are actually, because the male is, I could have colored this as a female, which is more of a dark brown color, but I do like these blackbirds here. And the males, they just sing so beautifully. I think my earliest memory of a bird is actually a blackbird singing. It was when my grandfather died. I think I was only 6 years old when he died, and I can still remember the blackbird singing the day that I was told that he was dead. He had been sick with cancer for quite a while, so it wasn't a surprise that he died when I think about it as an adult. sometimes you can see or just a little dark brown color here. I don't think that we will be able to see it on this one, but you can, if you want to, try to add a darker brown color here if you want to. And you could also make some little highlights in the wings if you wanted to, but I don't. So now I will just find and I can't find it because I have so many pencils on my table. Just find my black pen. Ah, here it was. And color all of this black. So now we have a black eye. And then when it's dry, I will use my Signo gel pen white to make a little dot in here to get some highlights in the eye here. And that was the Blackbird, but you can also choose to make it a female, and then you would just have to use some very dark brown colors, like for example, as I used before, the chalk tone. That was not it. I have way too many pencils on this table. The dark chocolate and the chalk tone. They would be very nice, and perhaps combine it with the Huntsman, if you want to, for a female Blackbird. So now the page is completely finished. This beautiful, beautiful double page spread here. And you can see I chose to color this Blackbird as a female and the other two as males. I really like the color combinations for this one, and I am really positively surprised by the Black Widows and the performance on this paper in this coloring book. I usually always use Prismacolors on this paper because it just works so well. When I color, you can really smush the colors together. You can see here I have used other brands. I used Staedtler Ergosoft for this page, and they worked, well, absolutely okay on this paper. And the reason why I hesitate is because they are not my favorite pencils, but they did perform quite nicely on this page. And here I used my Eversar London coloring pencils, and they work really nicely also because they are very soft, so they perform like the Prismacolors. This paper is a paper where soft coloring pencils work so very nicely, but the Black Widows are somewhat harder. They are not quite as soft, but they performed really, really well in this book. They were good at both when you used hot pressure and for layering, and the blending was absolutely wonderful. So I don't think I have finished using Black Widow pencils in this book, and I am really, really satisfied with the result here, and that I managed to color this double page spread in my project book, because as you know, Twilight Garden is my project book, and I want to finish it by the end of this year. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial, which was my video number 300 here. Please give it a thumbs up, a like, it really does help my channel, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Check out the playlists here on my channel, and you will find a lot of other nice videos, reviews, color pencil comparisons, practice tutorials, which, well, are just tutorials, and also my coloring series, 3 minutes of coloring. You can find a lot more coloring there. If you really like coloring here together with me, you can consider becoming a channel member and joining my coloring community. Here you will have free access to all of my beginner tutorials, color alongs, and my how to color series. And best of all, it's completely ad-free, so no ad breaks at all. If you have any suggestions for new videos, write it down in the comments. And until I see you in the next video, have a lovely day. Take care of yourself. Happy coloring. Bye.